All right, people, we are back in the nick of time, just in time to deliver all the goodness of which we have collected during my travels. Guys, this is the live stream show. Thank you so much for showing up. I am Braden Langley. This is going to be an amazing live stream built for you to combat all that pesky propaganda that you're constantly under. This one's got everything you're going to need to see. A whole lot of actual reality, which kind of circumvents around the whole Democratic narrative thing. A little bit of, hey, no one's going to tell you this, so I'm just gonna. Along with some really awesome stuff at the end. This is going to be one you're going to enjoy. So make sure you hit that like button, subscribe to the channel, turn the notification bell on as you guys get in here. Make sure you hit that audio, video, 5x5. Everything is about engagement. So make sure you hit that comments, chats, emojis. Get involved because God knows that notification bell sure as hell is not doing it. It is good to see you guys again, being live once again in the home studio. Let's get down to some business. Okay, guys, let's get it in here. Make sure... Yeah, we do got a live one, 5x5 audio video, amazing per usual. Get on in here, make sure you send this out, share it out. We've got some amazing things to talk about. All right, chats, comments, emojis, make the world go round. You know the rules. Go around. Once I post it, it's going live. All right, we are going to do that there. I'm going to pin this bad boy. And y'all, we have got some interesting things to talk about. Now, you know how these live streams typically open up. They always open up with a little bit of a monologue, followed up by a slight appetizer is the best way, and something to wet the whistle, to prime the pump, so to speak, as you guys filter in here. But here's a little bit of the thing that I want to say about the monologue real quick. Yo, and let me hear you in the comments and the chats on this one. There's a lot of things that people just aren't telling you. And if you know anything about my channel, anything about my live streams, anything about any of my content, I cannot stand when people lie to you. I just can't stand it, whether it be politicians, whether it be media, whether it be talking heads. I just don't like it, especially when it's very easy to refute, because it makes me feel like they think we're idiots. We're not idiots. So I simply put up videos where I just say, yep, nope, you're wrong, and then I source all the material in the description box below. But, y'all, I'm going to be candid with you. There's a lot of people outside of the whole back and forth tit for tat crap, which is annoying. Honestly, I think everyone's over it. I'm over it, among some of the influencers on our side. But other than that, there's this whole little thing about we're doomed. We're doomed to failure. We're definitely doomed to failure. It's 100% doomed to failure. Well, did you tell them about those 19 things that make all that make sense? Well, no. I'm just going to tell them we're doomed to failure. That's the thing. It has a demoralizing effect, and I'm going to try my very best to give you everything that you need to have a complete picture. And with that, we are going into this country. We are going to save this country. We're going to build it from the bottom up. We are already making tremendous gains going forward. It is not a time to be de-incentivized from victory and action. All right, let's get into this. This is a time to grind. Vote like you're losing. Grind like you're losing. Work like you're losing. Let's get it. Let me hear you in the comments on this stuff, guys. All right, let's dive into this real quick. It looks like for the first part of the appetizer, we have got to talk about the fact that Kamala Harris seems to be taking over the Democrat primary system. Yep, that's happening. Apparently, they need some more roughage. They didn't get enough word salads the first time around, so they're going to try to do it again. Because it turns out she's yet again, once again, in addition to another poll, beating Gavin Newsom. Oh, this is going to be amazing. Because it really looks like there's a little bit of a chance that she might actually get the nomination. And if she does, I am going to be elated. Because the word salads and the $2 billion they burned through and destroyed the Democratic Party the last time if that was an appetizer, let's go for part two. But anyway, I digress. Now on to something else. I touched on it earlier about the whole influencer fighting thing that everyone's sick of. It turns out the Assistant Attorney General is too. I'm bored AF, which is, as the F-bomb goes, with the conservative influencer wars. By the way, it's not all of them. It's only certain ones. So just get that right. There's a lot of people who aren't. We have a country to fix. Talking heads firing inside the tent ain't it. Can we focus on solutions and the hard work needed to achieve them? Join up. Amen. Preach. More of that. Please retweet that. All right. Let's get into this, people. I've got some reality to show you because you know how I try not to lie to you. There you go. 2028 Republican presidential primary frontrunner J.D. Vance by 84%, according to a Turning Point USA straw poll over the entire conference. 84%. Y'all, that's not even close. The other people don't even exist. J.D. Vance is the frontrunner in that straw poll. I know it's a straw poll. Bear with me. By 84%. That's a whole lot of percent. I'm just saying. But let's keep on going. Of course, guys, that engagement is essential as we try to fight that notification monster, which puts us under its thumb every single time. 500 of you in here right now, please send this out because we have got to get some momentum back in the system because that pesky notification it must not like something that we're talking about. Anyway, look at that. Look what I found for you. Remember that whole thing, Donald Trump approval rating? Donald Trump, everyone hates him. Everyone hates him. Go eat dirt. Yeah, it turns out that his approval rating is at 50-41. That's awkward if you're on the left. Because, yeah. I mean, meanwhile, the guy's on national TV talking about how he's going to make a Donald Trump-class warship and he's going to have a golden fleet. I mean, like, this guy has a masterclass in trolling the lefties. It is phenomenal. But anyway, let's keep on going. I got a few more things for you, and then we're going to get into the really, really deep stuff, because the deep stuff is where all that goodness is. Here's a little bit of a generic polling ballot. I keep you guys updated on this. Democrats at 44%, Republicans at 43%. That is so weird, because that's not what everyone says, right? Again, that whole lying to you thing? Yeah, I got more for you. So they're 1 point off. Okay. Democrats lost over 70,000 registered voters in November, more than double that of the Republicans. In November, that was last month. Republicans lost 29,000. Democrats lost 71,000. That doesn't seem like it would be a very viable business model. Turns out being vote repellent isn't the answer. Guys, this checks exactly with the minus 71% or 78% of the Democrat approval rating. They're like minus 66 underwater. You got all the, like, I think it was like 78 or 62, something like that. A very high percentage of men in the United States can't stand the Democrat Party. Yep, that checks out. 29,000 lost for the Republicans, 71,000 lost for the Democrats in the month of November. I mean, y'all, I'm not a mathematician. You guys know I make mistakes, but I'm pretty sure that's not good if you're on Team Blue. I mean, I could be wrong. Maybe it's like golf. But it doesn't look to be that way. It looks very, very bad. But let's keep on going, because more of these things that they just won't tell you. Oh my God, look at Pennsylvania. Voter registration update from the middle of December. GOP up 12.5. The Dems statewide lead is now below 50,000 people in the swing state of Pennsylvania. Again, I'm just waiting for the point where all the lies and manipulation and propaganda start to come true, because everything's pointing in the exact opposite direction, which is why I show you these things in real time. And now we go to one of my favorite things before we go to a little bit different. By the way, that was like a little Sound of Music vibe I didn't mean to do. That's a Freudian slip, if you will. But let's keep on going. Guys, the chats, the comments, the emojis, this is everything, the engagement. And thank you guys for doing so. All right, listen. 2026 generic congressional vote. You see something funny on this, guys? And we're just going to keep on rolling with this energy. You know how I told you that you can kind of see through an aggregate? You can see of an overview. You can see what's happening across the board at length by looking and zooming out. Yeah, look what happens when you zoom out, guys. Look, it's Democrats plus 3.7 right here. Okay, this is really important stuff to set the tone to go into the next clips, but just bear with me real quick. So 3.7% advantage for Democrats is essentially tied nationwide, which goes with the other polls that I've shown you, which again, the media and the propagandists and the talking heads on the left aren't going to tell you that. But you notice something interesting right below that? There's a Democrat plus 16 outlier poll about 2 days after the plus 14 poll fell off. Isn't that weird that it's still 3.7% advantage Democrats, even with a plus 16 outlier poll? Okay, now let me show you some reality. Plus 2, plus 2, plus 1, plus 4, 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 plus 4 red, plus 4 blue, plus 3. Are you guys figuring out where it is? Not this one. I mean, good God, these people are the most manipulative people on the planet. That's an aggregate. That's not even one polling organization. That's all of them. They're throwing in plus 16 polls just to get you feeling all kinds of in your feels. And it's not going to work because I'm showing you all the other things. Pennsylvania is going more red. The overall loss national for Republican to Democrat is going red. The interactive polls on the basically generic ballot are even. And then you got Donald Trump's approval at 50-41. Guys, none of it's jiving with reality. I'm really just trying to show you what the aggregate is, because they sure like to really talk about things that are in that individual moment, but they really don't like to talk about the whole trend, and that's really important. All right, let's shift a little bit, because we're kind of burning through this pretty quick on purpose to get to this next point about what they're not going to tell you. So Benny Johnson is... I've been lukewarm. I've been kind of like opportunity. I've been like, okay, cool, we're good. We're not, whatever. But he's really been shining on me recently. And in his stepping into the role of actually telling you positive, good stuff occasionally, I'm actually really here for it. And if his people happen to be watching, call me. We'd love to hang. But genuinely, listen to what he says right here on a Fox News post, on a show. This is really important stuff. And I'll get to these super chats here in 1 second. Hold on a second, guys. Let's get this. Listen to what he says, and you might sound familiar if you're a viewer of this channel, when the notifications decide to let you know. All right, let's get it.
It's of great joy to bring to your show, because while we see some energy in the movement trying to tear apart what Charlie built, he was, in fact, somebody who put together the most powerful political movement and the most powerful unified movement in American history, and is having incredible results. That woman there is talking about her children. You are a mother. I'm a father. Right now in America, we are witnessing a miracle. This generation, the young generation, believes in God and is going to church at higher rates than their parents. That's never happened before in the history of all civilization. That is incredible. Young men are more right-wing than they have ever been measured. And most importantly, young men who voted for Trump, their number one priority, Kaylee, is starting families and having children. That's what Charlie was always preaching about, because that's God's first command to us. Go be fruitful and multiply. That's what God says in the book of Genesis to Adam. And young men, because they've been Christ-centered in their life through Charlie Kirk and his legacy, and they saw Charlie lived for and died for the truth. No man dies for a lie. Charlie died for the truth. And that truth was, God wants you to be happy. God wants you to be joyous. Fall in love, get married, have children, and that's the legacy of Charlie Kirk. Kaylee,
Okay, so I love the energy, I love the vibe, and I love the message. I also love something else that he posted up here, right here. This is really important stuff, guys. And this might sound very familiar, and let me know if you've heard me say this at all, because it's totally true. The younger generation is more religious than their parents. Church attendance is skyrocketing. Young men are more right-wing than ever. Men who voted for Trump have started a family as their number one priority. Y'all, these are things that it's not, I didn't invent it, Benny didn't invent it. It's happening on the ground. It's who's willing to tell you these things, right? That's the important piece. The entire nation is shifting to the right, starting with the youngest groups. Turning Point USA has over 1 million kids involved. Like, we're talking about college-age kids, 1 million of them. 140,000 of them in the last 3 months had launched inquiries to find out more. I think it was 50 chapters a day are being opened. I mean, y'all, like, literally, the power of the left is slipping through their fingers, and all we can do is sit here and freaking fight each other about who's cool and who's not. I mean, like, it's really, really sad. But anyway, let's keep on going, because someone's got to do it. Listen, this is the part where I do two things. I tell you basically the reason for the title and the thumbnail, and then I also do a nice little disclaimer, and I'm going to do that in 1 second. Here's a super chat from, I forgot the name, Mike Yu for $1.99 says, Dems aren't lying, they're definitely not trying. I like that vibe, I like that energy. All right, let's get it. All right. So Nancy Mace is a representative on the Republican side. Fine, great, awesome. I have no issue with Representative Mace. I'm not trying to get her. I'm not trying to do anything like that. I'm just going to point something out that I think it's really, really important for you guys to know, because she did not say it, and it has to be said, because if you do not supply context to what she said separately from what we covered earlier, you miss out on a whole lot, and it puts you in a different set. It puts you in a different set in mind space, and it's really important. So I'm not attacking her. I'm merely adding commentary to something that's really important she hit. Let's get it. Let's let her introduce this. Again, I'm not out here just jabbing people in the heart. I'm just trying to help you guys realize what is reality and what is a emotional talking point.
A historic moment and opportunity ahead of us.
So
we're stifling it.
So I assume you want the Republicans to go ahead with the nuclear option and just do what they've got to do right now, because you see no way around a big loss coming in November?
We're going to see it, the House. We're going to lose the House, and it will be a bloodbath. And we will have earned it because of the lack of productive work fulfilling the conservative agenda. What Nancy Pelosi did, and I vehemently disagree on everything, she was ruthless. And she knew that the speaker's gavel was temporary and that any moment it could be gone. And so they shoved through the most progressive ideological policies known to man on this earth. They shoved that through and got it to Biden's desk to be signed. And we don't have that same thing. We get elected and we get scared.
Okay. This is the part where we're going to have a real quick moment. Let's just say that. That's not correct. Factually, that is not correct. And the reason that I want to hit that in this very important part of this live show, that's incorrect information, which leads you into a position of saying that, oh, it must be bad on Mike Johnson. Oh, it must be bad on John Thune. The fact is, Nancy Pelosi didn't get things to Joe Biden's desk because of the thing called a filibuster. In fact, and this is the part where I can lean very heavily on my own experience because I was heavily involved in the covering of this stuff, Joe Biden did 98% of his actions through the executive branch. Most of them were done through the levers of power, the leveraging of power, the leveraging of bureaucracies, the leveraging of bureaucrats inside those bureaucracies to do all sorts of things. In fact, most of the lawsuits that were filed and went to the SCOTUS were done because of overreach of executive agencies. It was not because of overreach of Congress. Now, there were some things that they did put through to the House in the Biden administration, like the Voting Rights Act that they wanted to do, that died in the Senate, didn't go anywhere because of the filibuster. They did get through the Senate Bipartisan Safer Communities Act because Republicans betrayed their constituents. It was a gun control act. We covered it extensively on this channel. A lot of my 2A people in the audience, my older audience, will absolutely know. We were here, we were there, we did it together. But the hard, cold reality is the Biden administration did not get things through the Congress, through the House, and through the Senate because of the filibuster. The filibuster held most of the administration's legislative pushes at bay, which is why they went directly executive for 2 years, and then they lost the House, in which case they couldn't push anything through the House anymore. So the idea that there's this big failure on the Republican side because they're not getting bills to Donald Trump's desk is not exactly representative. And then tying in all the other pieces of Nancy Pelosi and Joe Biden and Chuck Schumer are also not representative of what actually happened historically. You can go back and look all of this up. I source everything. I was there. I was covering it. The idea that the filibuster wasn't a play for the Democrats, but it somehow is in play for the Republicans is simply not true. I'm not assigning malicious intent to her saying this. I think this is an emotion-invoking statement. However, it's not accurate. And that actually goes a very, very long way to explaining the situation that we are currently in, aligned with all the actions that you're seeing the Trump administration take because they are leaning heavily legislative and executive. That's exactly what's happening with the Donald Trump administration because the exact same filibuster is the exact same issue that's happening with Donald Trump that happened with Joe Biden. It's the entire premise of the whole ordeal in the Senate. That's why you hear all these verbiages about destroying the filibuster, get rid of the filibuster, going the nuclear option, like Dave Rubin just said. But the idea that's being espoused right now is more so Republicans are failing, so we're going to lose the House in a bloodbath, but that's not actually what is happening. That's actually not what happened with the Biden administration. That's incredibly important to understand because it adds a little bit of color and context to what she's talking about. All right, let's keep on going. I got one more thing I want to show you.
Scared of losing the election, so we moderate to the left, trying to keep independents and moderates. But I don't think we understand as a party that conservatives can win. I mean, Donald Trump won in a landslide on a massive conservative agenda.
So what do you think Mike Johnson's missing there then? Because I assume you don't think it's Trump that's not leading properly on this.
Oh, the president's doing phenomenal. I mean, this is the best president in my lifetime in history. He's been phenomenal so far. And it's not just the House. It's also the Senate. I believe that Senate leadership, I mean, they can just sit there for months or years on end and not do anything. And oftentimes they do. They're the, quote, deliberative body. But they're also the least productive. And they've taken the purse strings from the House also. So I am frustrated by what I see going on here because we have the opportunity of a lifetime and we're squandering it. We're better than this.
What?
Okay. Again, this is the whole point. when you go down these types of platitudes of we're better than this, we are squandering this, the filibuster is still in place. The Democrats still are required to get past the filibuster. It's not like the Republicans are in this position where they have all the power to pass anything that they want. They don't. Simply, they do not. It happened in the Biden administration, and it's happening in the Trump administration. It happened in the first Trump administration. This is a consistent feature of the Senate, which slows everything down for whatever side's in power, every single time. But the idea of us squandering something is not accurate, particularly when you look at where all the action is happening in the executive side of things. The big secret that they don't want to tell you is a lot of the actions that you're seeing probably outside of the one big beautiful bill. I would honest to God say 95% of all the action that Trump's taken and all the administrations have taken has been relieving gas pressure, relieving energy pressures, relieving car manufacturing, relieving all the different manufacturing pressures and leverages that the Biden administration did. And it's all happening on the executive side of the government. It is not happening on the legislative because the filibuster is still in place. You have to understand the nuance of how this works to know what she's talking about. But she's kind of dancing on the head of a pin, right? She's kind of doing this. We're squandering it. It's not Trump's fault. I'm not going to say Speaker Johnson's fault, but it is kind of the system, but it's kind of not. But it's kind of the Senate, but it's kind of the House. We're better than this. Better than what? That's a very important thing. And again, I'm not bashing anybody. I'm not trying to say she's bad, anybody. I'm not saying that. But what I'm saying is when you go down this road of it's an absolute bloodbath because we're not passing bills that we cannot do because of the filibuster in the Senate, that's kind of a lose-lose scenario. How are you going to win that, right? The only way you could win that is if you get rid of the filibuster. My own personal take on that is the senators are not going to get rid of the filibuster. It's something that both sides use as their little play toy when either side has power. That's just something that they have. And if they got rid of it, everything would change completely. But the fact is, it still exists. Anyway, I got a super chat real quick. Hold on a second. Jimmy Willis, for a $10 super chat, says the rhinos are a big problem. We need to primary every one of them out of office. We need better candidates representing us. I completely agree with that, Jeremy Willis. I completely agree. That's the whole point. That's the entire thing. It's all about being able to put proper representation in there and then try to basically drain that swamp. Which, by the way, if you're talking about draining the swamp in the Donald Trump regime, they've lost 15, I can't remember. I think it was 150,000. I think that was the number, 150,000. Don't quote me on that. I'm doing it from memory. 150,000 bureaucratic jobs gone from D.C. Okay. Like you have to, the best way I can describe this, and I'm trying to figure out the best little summation. The best way that you can possibly describe this is you have to look at the whole picture, which is why I show you all the things I show you on a nightly basis. Because the whole picture is where all the power lies. It's not in these little minute, little tiny clips that everyone loves to do and get their name out there. You have to understand the whole system we're working in. And if you do, you will understand what's at play, what is not, and where where the state of play actually sits. Because the one big beautiful bill got through Congress. That's the one signature piece of legislation that did pass, that did go through, and it went through the little thing called reconciliation. That's the whole point, guys. The reconciliation bill is meant to circumvent the filibuster because it's budgetary. That's the entire purpose of the entire first year of the administration, congressionally. But anyway, let's keep on going. I got something else. And if you don't believe me, maybe you can bounce over to a senator named Mike Lee who tells you the same thing. Listen, this is what we're talking about. And I source everything. So if you have a question or you want to send it out or you want to share, it's in the description box right down there. I always bring receipts. Listen to Mike Lee.
Friendly reminder, it doesn't take 60 votes to pass legislation in the Senate. It takes a simple majority. It takes 60 votes to force debate to come to a close. But there
That's not you, by the way. That's actually the audio of the clip.
Pass legislation in the Senate. It takes a simple majority. It takes 60 votes to force debate to come to a close. But there
Yeah, that's just that clip. Come on, based Mike Lee. I expect better. I'm going to reload this and we're going to see if we can get this cleaned up for you guys because you deserve the very best. And that's what I try to give you. Hold on, Mike Lee. Hold on. Let's test it out again.
Friendly reminder, It doesn't take 60 votes to pass legislation in the Senate. It takes a simple majority. It takes 60 votes to force debate to come to a close. But there are other ways of getting to a final vote cast at a simple majority in the Senate that don't involve cloture. All you have to do is keep debating until nobody shows up to debate, or until everybody has exhausted their right to speak. They can only speak twice on the same discrete legislative proposal on the Senate floor during the same legislative day. The same legislative day can be kept open for days, weeks, even months, if necessary, and it has in the past. There are other ways of getting there. We can't continue to see the 60-vote cloture standard as synonymous with what's required to pass a bill in the Senate. That's not how it works, and it's not how it was designed. We can do better.
Now, here's what I would like to add as a simple contrast, and this is a very, very powerful contrast. He just concluded with the same thing I just showed you Nancy Mace concluded with. We can do better. He was saying do better on executing the way the rules exist in the system and basically working within them. She is saying we can do better, we're going to lose, it's a bloodbath, hands up, Chicken Little. There's a very important difference. And honestly, the Mike Lee approach is more proactive. This approach is much more sensationalist. And again, I'm not bashing anybody, I'm not praising anybody. I don't know any of these people's reps. I don't know any of these people's administrative aides. I don't know any of their staffers. I know nobody, not in this instance. But you have to understand, when you're talking about all the different pieces that you're talking about, I strive every single video, every single live to bring you the things that no one will tell you and put them all together in a nice little package to give you the entire and complete context, not just a 30-second clip, which everyone seems to want to run with, is, ooh, look at this one little gotcha moment, but you have to understand the context to understand the full impact of that clip. And that's what I try to do in my long forms, my shorts, and then also my lives. And I hope you guys enjoy it, and I hope I land the plane. So let me know if I do that. I love each and every one of you just the right amount that makes you feel comfortable. Thank you for tuning into the live after a brief hiatus for traveling for Christmas. You guys are amazing. I will see you on the next one. I'm Braden. See you later.